My name is Larissa. I'm a compulsive eater. And I have the honor and the privilege of introducing our next speaker. Her name is Carmen from Hollywood, Florida. So we have more than one Hollywood, y'all. It's about 40 miles north of Miami. She started in the program in 1994 with Fred S., our co-founder. She is a wonderful, wonderful person, and she happens to be my sponsor.
All right.
December the 29th, 2014, she became my sponsor. And I have worked with her and called her just about every day and worded her, awesomely worded her. And she has put up with me. And I'm so grateful to have her here today to share her story, give us her experience, strength, and hope. And I have to say this, when she got here yesterday, it was the first time we have ever met.
Hello, everyone. I am Carmen. I'm a compulsive eater. I like to say food addict. It just sounds more dramatic. Ooh, food addict. Wow, that must be serious. Well, yeah, it is. It is serious. I have some visual aids, actually. So I'm going to bring that up because I figure after eating we might fall asleep, so she has something to look at. And it might not have transferred 100%, but you'll get the gist. So this is my promise. Well, let me qualify. I've been in program for 23 years as of last week. And yes, thank you. And I don't know, a couple years recommitted. My recommitted time is hard for me to keep track of. Oops, this is starting without me. Oh, sorry. My promise is, we feel we are on the broad highway, walking hand in hand with the spirit of the universe. And this is me being a tree hugger. And I realized after I came into program and I had to start to define my own sense of what a higher power was, I realized a lot of it is, to me, in nature. That's where I feel spiritually connected. I'm a recovering Catholic of many years. And I still love the Catholic faith and religion. It just doesn't suit me 100% for what I want and what I need for it in my program, in my abstinence. And this is actually a picture of going into Muir Woods in Northern California. And as I walked into the woods, I was abstinent about a year, trying to get pregnant. And that's what propelled me to come into program. And as I walked into those woods, I felt this overwhelming sense of serenity, peace, and gratitude and love. And I just broke down. I've been there 3 times, and every time I've walked in, I felt the same exact presence of God and Spirit in me. And that's where I want my ashes spread when I pass, when I shed the mortal coil. So somebody's going to tell me when to stop talking, right? Because I'm a talker. You guys, some of you are having trouble filling that 40 minutes. Well, that's not me. And I love a microphone. So let me start a little bit at the beginning. And this is my family, my brothers and sisters, and I'm the one that looks like me. And I came here 9 months old from Cuba. I'm Cuban born, native.
Where are you really?
I'm the one over here. Yeah. That's me and my brothers and sisters. And I came as a refugee, and I've been an American citizen since I was 6 years old. And I remember when I had to sign the paper, I thought I was going to go to jail if I answered anything wrong, though. So it was like this sterile building, a government building, and they asked me, who was the first president of the United States? And I went, George Washington, I swear. Because I didn't really understand all of it, but, oops. Hello? Hello? Okay. All right, so this was me before program. And this is a picture of me when I was 20 years old. I was about 180 pounds. I afterwards gained probably another 20-something pounds. So my top weight before finding abstinence was probably in the 200s. I just stopped weighing myself somewhere around 180s. I just couldn't do it, weigh myself anymore. And I don't have a lot of pictures, and I'm not going to dwell too much on my pre-recovery because I really love my life in program, and that's what I really want to talk about, and this promise especially. So this is, again, a picture of me a year after starting program, and I was trying to get pregnant, and that's what propelled me to come into the rooms, because I was like, if I continue in disease and I get pregnant, I'm just going to be 300 pounds and never shed the weight. My life is going to be, just terrible, and probably I'll be a terrible mother, and I just really just didn't want, to do that to myself. So that did propel me to start program, and I did, within 3 months, lost 40 pounds, and I was on maintenance ever since, really. This is a picture of my family. Again, I put this in because this is my dad, who died when I was 17. He had been a year, maybe like 5 years clean from alcohol, but no program of recovery, so he was a dry drunk. But he was an active alcoholic most of my life, and he, passed away at 57 years old. He was older than my mother, and this is why I think in my mind why as a young child I turned to food instead of other substances, because alcohol was bad. I knew that. That was not going to be me. But I could find comfort in the food, and that was socially acceptable, and in my family was very acceptable. So that's what I turned to, and that's what I sought for comfort from the time I could remember being a child, raiding the refrigerator and doing the things that all of us probably have done. So my dad did pass away when I was 17, and that's me on the big shoulder pads. Now, I talked a little bit about trying to get pregnant. Well, sometimes the universe has a different, better plan. Because after my father passed away, my mother got remarried to a younger man, 13 years younger. I don't know about that younger man's sperm, I'm thinking is what happened, because she was 51 years old and she got pregnant out of the blue. So this is my mother and my stepfather, and I'm giving away the punchline here, but she did get pregnant, and she had a beautiful 9-pound baby girl who's my baby sister, who's 22 years old. And that's myself and my ex-husband, and we're godparents. This is at her baptism. So what happened was, after a year of trying to get pregnant, I started to have to get on medication and so forth. What I realized now, and I realized shortly after, is that I was there for my mother in a way that I couldn't have been if I had gotten pregnant, obviously. So I was able to really be there for her, be there for Patty and Pedro, and really be a big source of support for my mom, who was 51 and had a baby, which a little crazy. We're a bunch of crazy Cubans. So yeah. So, and I realized that also, I wasn't quite ready. I was a year in program, a year of abstinence, but it helped me to really get ready, to really get ready to be well-versed in my program, strong, and that made me, I think, a really healthy person at the point of wanting to have a kid. So it was a perfect, better plan. At the time, my mom was like, sorry to tell you, I'm pregnant. And I'm like, what? I've been trying a year to get pregnant. I'm 26 years old. You're 51. I mean, of course, it was a crazy time, but it was beautiful, and Patty has been a miracle to our family and to our life, and the biggest blessing that we could ever imagine. So I did finally get pregnant, and my daughter and Patty are 13 months apart, so they're like sisters. This is me in front of Graceland, actually, pregnant, and I was abstinent in pregnancy at 26, 27. It was a blessing, a miracle, incredible. To never have morning sickness, feel 100% great all the time, gain 25 pounds, and within 2 weeks of having my daughter, lost the weight, lost 20 of the 25 pounds within 2 weeks of having that kid. And I nursed, breastfed, and it was an absolute wonderful pregnancy. This is us at my baby shower, and the Cubans do it all big, so it was a big affair. Even though my marriage to my first husband did not work out, this is him and his mother and my daughter, we're still great friends. Great friends. And I love him to death. It just didn't work out for us. And one of the things about this promise is that walking the broader highway, not being constrained to like the physical material stuff that I could just let go at that time, and the divorce didn't have to be a terrible thing because both of us could rise above our problems and see that we had a beautiful child that we had created, that we still care about each other greatly, and we could still be great friends. And that's only through program was I able to do that. So much so that I introduced him to his second wife, and they had this little girl, little Riley, who's now 13 years old. So I introduced him to my friend, got them together at my house, had them both over for dinner, and they were blessed to be able to have a child together and get married. And so not sticking to the pain, hurt, kind of moving above that and saying, okay, was in love with this man. There was a lot good that he brought to my life. Can I focus on that? Can I focus more on him as a human being, not as my ex-husband? And that's what I did. I continue to do, and we're very, very close friends. So my time was coming, though, and this is Yosemite, and I met someone. I had a bit of a tumultuous relationship after my breakup. There's no pictures of that in here. I want to keep this positive, but it was all growth opportunity, because I realized if I hadn't have had that codependent relationship, I could have not really met my future husband and been at the place to appreciate someone like him, because I had to go through my crap, and that's fine, I did. So I was in the middle of Yosemite, and anytime there's an open field, I must do a cartwheel. I mean, that has to happen. I don't care. It could be an open plaza I'm going to do a cartwheel. So I do my cartwheel. These people were I'm there with my boyfriend at the time, and there's a couple seeing me being silly, so they started taking pictures. Well, little did I know that he was going to approach me in the middle of that field and get on one knee and ask me to marry him. So this is pictures of us getting engaged which this couple just happened to start clicking away when they realized what was going on. So I have some pretty pictures of us getting engaged. And he is really such a balanced individual. He is, I say to myself, sort of like the balance in my life. I've always gravitated to the addict, the intense person, the person that's really going to challenge you. And now I'm with someone who is mellow, serene, comfortable with himself, extremely likable individual, and just everything I've ever worked for, sort of there. Why? I think because I put that out in the universe. I let go of the pretenses of wanting a 6'2" guy who drives a nice car, and who's going to make my life easy, and just being. It's funny because my mom was having her anniversary, and she said to me, I'm going to pray. Every time I talk about my mom, I got to do the Spanish accent, because we all do it, all the kids. We have to go into her Spanish accent. I am going to pray, Carmen, that you bring someone to my party, and it will be somebody very good to you. I said, sure, Mom, yeah, whatever. Do it. Sure enough, that's exactly what happened. And I was blessed to leave the physical manifestations of what I thought I should have in my next marriage, and just open myself to love and serenity and peaceful relationship. And I can't believe it, because I'm a whack that I've attracted this into my life, And I'm like, crazy, And he is like the nicest, most mellowest, never has a bad day, never. Always just so there and consistent and loving. And if I was still in that physical plane of wanting things that are earthly bound and has the shiny things, and I would never have seen him. I would have never seen him for who he was, just a great, wonderful human being, which I always like the really good person to have in your life. Oh, Carmen, she's a catch. You know, because I'm pretty awesome, I have to tell you. Abstinence has helped me to be that person. And so I attracted someone who's maybe even a better person than me. Like, wow. Like, what's that? He's the groom. There's another picture of him next, a little bit closer up. So that's him with my daughter, and I just couldn't be more blessed to have.
Pretty shiny.
And then, interestingly, right? I put it out in the universe that here, now I'm 38, getting married, so 39 actually, and I had a lot of trouble getting pregnant with Rebecca. And I'm like, you know, whatever happens, I was pregnant on my honeymoon. So 3 weeks earlier, it was a man's job to take care of business, and we couldn't do that. So I got pregnant right away at 39. You bet, damn it, it's a condom! Well, just one time won't hurt. Really? Just the one time. So, interestingly enough, 11 years later, you know, I'm older, I'm thinking I might not even get pregnant at all because I had so much trouble with Rebecca, and I got pregnant, just like that. So, I'm blessed to have Noah and Rebecca there together. They're 11 years apart, and they're incredible children. So, that's a little bit of my background. Now, listen to the call of the Spirit of the universe. So the Spirit of the universe may take us in places that we expect or not, you know, and we're just along for the ride if we open ourselves to that. And I was the only one to go to college of my 5 brothers and sisters. And I was blessed. I became a nurse in my late 20s, and I had worked in film for a few years, which I loved. It was a crazy life, and when I wanted to have children, I left that business and I became a nurse. It was a big deal for me to go to community college. Big deal. Because now I needed to ask for help with my studies and somebody to watch the little one and all that. Then I got my bachelor's, then I got my master's, and then I got recruited by University of Miami, and I'm a professor there, a teaching professor, and they paid for me to get my doctorate. So this is a huge accomplishment for my family because we've never been to college. And my mom is so proud of me, and when I call her, she still answers, "Hello, Dr. Presti." To this day. I got my doctorate in nursing practice in 2011, and she calls me Dr. Presti, which is funny. But one of the things with the call of the Spirit of the universe is that I had to rely on the universe. I had to rely on my mother. I had to rely on my husband to help me. You know, Rebecca, her crazy dance schedule, to go to school full time and go to a doctoral program. But I put it out there, and the universe answered. I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but this is in my path. I'm going to accept this, and everything will work out, and it did. It was incredible. They all pulled together for me, and they were there for me, and I'm Dr. Presti. So I teach full time, and even though I teach full time, I want to practice as a nurse practitioner. So I was practicing for a while. Then the job wasn't great. I'm walking in the hall of the hospital where I have students at, and Dr. Silverman, the critical care director, he comes in. He says, "Carmen, why don't you come back and work whenever you want?" So I work at Jackson Memorial Hospital, which is a huge teaching institution, and I work as an intensivist in the ICU as a nurse practitioner, and I manage these patients, very, very sick patients. And the beauty of it is, how am I going to make this work with my busy life, my teaching schedule, my kids? He said, just work whenever you want. Just put the schedule. There's 1,200 employees. I'm the only one in my own category that works just whenever I want. There's no minimum or maximum requirement. I mean, don't tell the union because it's probably not legal, because I really have my own classification, which is incredible because now I can be of service. And it's challenging. It's 12, 14 hours. Aretha knows I'm basically gone. The weekends, I work 3 days in a row, or I work 2 days in a row, or a day here, a day there. And it's a huge challenge because I'm taking care of very, very sick patients. I'm teaching docs in the teaching hospital. We do procedures. We do a lot of high level stuff there as an NP. And what an opportunity for me to be of service, though. For me to be a source of comfort, support, really operate at a high level of expertise. It's like pinch me. I get to teach and I get to practice, and both of the professions are extremely rewarding, and I'm so blessed. I got to go. I travel sometimes with my teaching job. This is me in Rio, in Brazil, and we opened up its first trauma center before the Olympics. So I got to do cool stuff like that, and I get to travel and do some really neat stuff. Now, the spirit of the universe comes in many shapes and colors. I think this promise is amazing because when I say that I'm walking the broad highway hand in hand with the spirit of the universe, that means it can come to me in any shapes, colors, and disguises. So I am never nervous or shy about just walking up to strangers and just being open with them, sharing with them, getting a moment of their life. I love that. Any little interaction. I don't even know what these kids were doing, but I'm like, hey, I want to take a picture with you guys. You guys look wild. And, they probably think, who's this, 40-something-year-old crazy woman? But I just love to do that. I love to meet people that are different, doing cool things. If there's a group of people at a restaurant and they sound like they're having a great time and they're talking, I'll just, what do you guys all know each other from? Like, what's your connection? Oh, it's this one's 60th birthday. Oh, here, take a picture with us. I do stuff like that all the time because I love people, because people are, to me, many embodiments of God. They are God. The GD inside you is through people. That's what God manifests to me in each other. A little piece of that spirit is in all of us. And if I can tap into that for 30 seconds, for a minute, and think about it later and wonder, wow, those people were having such a great time. Can I share some of that energy? And they just think it's funny and laugh, and sometimes there's pictures of me like with people I don't know. It's just, to me, it's the height of not having any fear or restriction in crossing that boundary between you and I. It's just being right here with you, let me share your life right now. And you know what? I never get any flack for it. No one has ever said, oh, who are you? No, everyone always responds. I've had, so far, knock on wood, 100% receptiveness when it comes to me sort of just getting into someone's life for just a minute and interacting with them. So I've gotten pretty lucky. No one's thrown me out of, Cookie Monster's walking around. I need to take a picture with him. So is Wonder Woman. I'll show you why I love Wonder Woman in a minute. One thing of the spirit of the universe coming in many shapes and sizes is that if I let in anyone into my life that's bringing good, I show that as an example to my children. So I don't have to teach my children to be tolerant of gay people because they see that some of my best friends are gay or black or whatever or Jamaican, and to me that's the biggest lesson because I don't have to teach it. I'm living it. That spirit, love, comes in many shapes, colors, sizes, genders, everything. And so my children are extremely, extremely tolerant. My son has a little friend who's 8, wants to be a girl, has wanted to be a girl since he was 3 years old. And my son Noah plays with his buddy, and he will, if I get him a Happy Meal, and there's a girl toy, and then he'll just say, oh, I'm going to save this for Gabriel. I don't have to teach him to be tolerant. He just knows that he's going to accept his friend. And his friend plays with dolls, and his friend, that's what he likes. And Noah's had a little bit of issue with it a couple years ago, but I told him, hey, I bet your buddy has little issues with you the way you play. He loves you, you love him, and they're best buddies. So again, going above, walking that broad highway, above, sort of like looking down. If I took away your physical manifestation, who are you? Who is your spirit? That's what I want my kids to focus on, and hopefully I'm doing that by example. This is a picture of my daughter being crazy like me. This is in front of the Obama White House, and there were these cool black guys, and they were dressed so cool. They just looked like something out of a movie set. I'm like, we were just like, wow, look at those guys. Don't they look cool? I'm like, go take a picture with them. She's like, okay. And she's like, and they're like, they were cool with it, And so she just jumped in there and took a picture with them. This is me with Wally Lamb, who is a writer. And if you haven't read his books, he's a fiction writer. And to me, the first writer that ever put into words what it was like to be a food addict. Because in his book, She's Come Undone, the main character is a food addict. And the very first line is the main character as a young girl putting something in her mouth and pretending that it's food. And she was a food addict in the book. And it's an amazing book. And I was supposed to work that day. I heard he was in town. I called in. I have to meet Wally Lamb. Because I only have that one opportunity, that one day. And I did. And I love this picture. I have it in my room. And I think about meeting him, and he shared with me, I said, how do you write so good about recovery or disease? And he shared with me that his son is in a 12-step program. And he tries to use that perspective. I guess also because I work in an ICU, and I work with very, very sick patients, and I started working as a trauma ICU nurse when I first became a nurse, that I'm so aware that if I let that moment pass, of interaction, of connection, I may never get back again. And then I'm going to regret later. Man, I wish I would have met him. I wish I would have shaken his hand. I wish I would have, what would have mattered if I left a little early that day and gone and done this experience, had this experience. I'm very cognizant of the fragility of life and how I don't want to have regrets. I just don't want to regret any moment. This is when Maya Angelou died, that I took this picture of the screen. She went to our church one day. I had brought my daughter Rebecca to Unity Church, a spiritual community. It's not really a religious-based church, but she happened to be a guest that day there. And afterwards, I went up to her, and I didn't take a picture because I don't want to be intrusive. It's not about taking a picture and saying, "Oh, I was with Maya Angelou." It's about honoring her. And I went up to her with my daughter, and I said, Miss Angela, I would love for you to meet my daughter. My daughter was like 9 years old at that time. And she bent down and she's like, what's your name? She's like, and Rebecca's like, Rebecca. And she's like, well, Rebecca, I am so honored to meet you. And it gives me chills to think about it because she, to me, is such a spiritual person. And I gave that to my daughter. I gave my daughter that connection with this beautiful soul, that my daughter will have forever, but nobody was approaching her. People were nervous, you could tell. Like, it's a weird setting, it was right after Mass, it was after church. But I'm like, screw it, Screw it! I don't want a picture with her, I don't want her autograph, I don't want anything from her. I want to honor her. And she was so beautiful, and the way she just looked into my daughter's eyes, and my daughter will remember that forever, forever. When she learned about Maya Angelou in school later, she could say, I was in her presence. This is at Comic-Con at a cheesy comic book convention. And you know who this is?
Yes.
This is Bob from Sesame Street. And I have tears in my eyes. I'm a crier anyway. But I have tears in my eyes because Bob and Emilio, who was Luis, they were part of my upbringing because with the tumultuousness of my childhood, they provided a happy, centered family life is what it looked like to me on Sesame Street. Like, my God, did I want to live there? Did I want to live in that neighborhood? Yes, I did. And I went up to them and I honored them and just said, you guys made it safe for me. Like on TV, I imagine myself there. You resolve conflicts. You talk to each other in a very decent and polite way, even if you were challenged by some situation, And I didn't have that in my life. My father was an abusive alcoholic. My mother was an enabler at that time. So I didn't have that. And so turning on Sesame Street to me was just plugging into, this could be possible. People could be nice to each other all the time, even if they are disagreeing about something. You know what I mean? And he said, they both said to me, so many people have come up to us in tears. So I know that they affected a lot of my generation. And I was just overwhelmed to see them. And I didn't realize it until I went up to talk to them and to shake their hand. I didn't realize that. But you could get your autograph because it was the Comic-Con, so that was appropriate. I went to see Terrence Terrell McCraney, the playwright of Moonlight, at a Q&A, because he went right before he won the Oscar, 2 weeks before the Academy Awards. He went and they played Moonlight at my school, and then he talked about it because he had been a visiting professor. And I also went up to him and afterwards, and I shook his hand. I didn't take a picture with him because it's not important. But I said to him, I can't wait to hear your acceptance speech. That was right, because he won. But incredible human being, and I told him I was touched by his intelligence. I had heard him on NPR, and he had talked about the struggles of growing up in Liberty City, being poor and with a drug-addicted, crack-addicted mother. And, will he remember me? I don't care. I will remember him. I remember meeting him, being in his presence. Again, just someone who's living on another plane to me. Someone who has touched my life. And if I have the opportunity to meet him, why not, right? I don't care. Silly is okay. Part of being on the broad highway is not caring what you look like, because that's the physical, that's the earthly bound. It's this, the spirit of fun. This is me at Lollapalooza with my daughter. She was 15 at the time, and it had rained, so, there was just mud everywhere. And I'm like the only 40-something-year-olds, I'm sure, sitting in the middle of that mud pile with the kids. This is them. That's what she wanted for her 15th birthday party. And we had a great time. So silly is definitely okay. I have hundreds of pictures of us going to concerts together and just being real ridiculous and laughing and singing and dancing and not caring what we look at. Midnight showing of my Harry Potter movie. There's many of these with my wand and my Harry Potter attire. If there's a poster board cut out of anything, life size, I gotta take a picture. This is Sanjay Gupta, who as a nurse I have like a big crush on because he's a physician, and I gotta take a picture of Sanjay Gupta because why not? I don't care. Poster of Harry Potter, and this is us being stupid, and I think you get the theme. Dressing up for a baby shower in 50s style clothes. We went retro shopping and gift store shopping. This is us at Universal Studios being stupid on the Transformer ride. And it's so funny because my husband appreciates silliness, but lets me do it. And sometimes I just look at him and he's just like, man. Because I just do the stupidest things. And I just don't really, we're only here for this much time, right? We're really only here for this much time, and I just feel like if I don't enjoy it, it's going to pass me by. At a conference in Colorado, snowing. Listen, it doesn't snow in Miami, ever. So you got to make a snow angel. You got to make a snow angel. And look at the snow angel. Tell me that's not good stuff right there. You got to make a snow angel, right? You got to tap into that joy, that joy of living, of being alive, being healthy, not caring. So I do this stupid thing where I dress up sometimes. And this was a friend of mine's 40th birthday party. So I have a Marilyn Monroe outfit, so I'm the worst Marilyn Monroe, right? I'm a Cuban Marilyn Monroe. But I went and I surprised him. They opened the door and I came in and I sang happy birthday, Mr. Delgado, because I was, like Marilyn did for President Kennedy, right? But of course, I'm absolutely the worst Marilyn Monroe, and I can't sing, but it doesn't stop me there. One time, I was working, and there was going to be one of our nurses was going to have a bachelor party, and they couldn't afford a hooker or a stripper. They said, "Let's call Carmen and ask her if she'll do it." I was like, "Wait a minute." Well, I was looking good that time because it was when I was running. You'll see pictures of me running, but so I dressed up with a wig, stuffed a little here, you know what I'm saying? And I went into the bar where they were all hanging out with a little boombox, and I did my, thing, and I did a little lap dance for this kid who was having his bachelor party there. And I mean, I wasn't the best, I didn't strip, but I did a little stupid dance with I did it to Shebang by Ricky Martin. Shebang, Shebang, that song? Anyway, so I did a dumb, so they literally called me and said, we wanted to get a stripper, a dancer, but we couldn't afford it, so we thought of you. I'll never forget those words. We thought of you. Because they knew I would do something stupid like that, and I did. It was fun. So that's me. Very bad with Monroe. My favorite villain. So when I got married, I've always loved Halloween. It's my favorite holiday of the year. And I've never been with anyone who really loved Halloween. So before I got married, when I was just dating Jay, I said to him, we were going to go out to go trick-or-treating on this was before I had a little one, this one, sorry. And I didn't tell him what I was going to dress up as, and he didn't tell me. So we were met at his house. When I pull up, I see him outside, and he's Aquaman, and I am Wonder Woman. Need I say more? It was like, finally, I got one. Finally. And so we love Halloween. So this is just a few of our Halloween pictures. This is me. Can anybody guess who this is?
Julia Roberts.
No. It has to do with the kid with the bandage on his head. Bad blue eyeshadow and a blonde wig. Britney Spears when she dropped her kid. Remember when Britney Spears dropped her kid? The kid had a bandage. So that's me as Britney Spears with the bad makeup. And so it was the year she was in the news for doing that. Do you remember that? Yeah. So as I would stroll, people would be like, "Oh, what's wrong?" I'm like, "Oh, no, I'm Britney Spears. That's my son." They're like, "Oh, that's bad. That's terrible." But it was fun. And then I'm Octomom here. I'm Octomom. That's 8 babies. This is the Hamburglar, my husband. Noah's a little penguin guy from one of his shows. I was Octomom that year. This is a ridiculous costume, but when your kid says mom, you gotta be an Angry Bird. We gotta be Angry Birds this year. Okay, fine. We'll be Angry Birds, which he loved. And if you want to be a plant versus zombie, I was a plant, and they were the zombies. Now this one makes me a little crazy because I worked really hard for this costume. I put it together. I'm the evil queen. I got the attitude. You know what I'm saying? My husband, last minute, puts on what looks like bacon. It's a bacon outfit. As we're walking trick-or-treating, everybody's like, "No, I love the bacon. Cool bacon." I'm like, "What? Are you kidding me? I worked so hard for this costume. I put this all together," and he puts on what looks like just bacon, and everybody loved his bacon costume. So, we're in Star Wars, all 3 of us, Star Wars villains. And then this was last year after Force Awakens came out, and if I'm going to be a stormtrooper, I'm going to be Captain Phasma, the female badass stormtrooper. So that's me. And so don't be afraid to be silly. When we went to New York City, my daughter and my baby sister Patty, we had to climb many, many, many stairs. It was awful. So at the top, they wanted to, that you could take your picture, right? So I'm like, well, let's just do a picture of like what we really feel like. So I'm like, are you kidding me? Sorry. So silly. So if you, I feel like if I live my life on a higher spiritual plane where I don't care what I look like, I really want to have joy, I really want to experience others, maybe I'll teach my kids to be fearless. Maybe this will transfer into fearlessness. And I feel like I am doing that. I'm partially successful. Still working on the little one. We'll see where he goes. But Rebecca's now 21. This is her winning an award. Now she performs improv in Second City in Chicago. And this is her on stage doing her thing. And she's a fearless kid. Both of my kids will walk up to anyone and talk to them. They have no fear of people. And if there's anything that I could have given my children, it's that. Because no matter what happens to me, I could die tomorrow. I know they'll be okay in the world. You know what I'm saying? And that to me is the biggest thing I could have ever done as a parent. So I wrote here, the spirit of the universe can bring laughter, but it can bring tears, right? Because there's no yin without the yang. So that just doesn't mean everything in life is going to be pain-free, obviously. This was actually at a funeral service for a big radio jockey that lived in Miami, Neil Rogers. He was well-known. Howard Stern talked about him. And when he passed away, they had a service and a lot of jokes. So I laughed the loudest, so they put my picture on. My baby sister last year, this is her. And of course, Rebecca is a little of my mini-me. Yes? Yeah. A little bit. And that's my baby sister. She got Hodgkin's lymphoma last year. So this was a very scary, of course, event for us, for my family, for my mother. You know, like I told her, it's the best cancer to have of all the cancers, which it is. It had a very high success rate, thankfully. She's not in treatment. But this wasn't a testing of our faith. This was a proof that faith and abstinence could get us through. You know, because she to me is like a daughter, and she's like a daughter to me. We've co-raised the kids, my mother and I. It's maybe closer to my mother than probably, I can't imagine, because we had children together. Now I've seen her as a mother raising a child. It just changed the dynamic completely. She's really my best friend, my mom. And Patty is another daughter. Anytime we go on vacation, we take each other's, kids. And it was tough, obviously. But thankfully, I never lost. It was never a reason to pick up. It was never a reason not to pray. It was never a reason to say, why me? It was just, we're going to get through this. And it's all in God's hands. My mother is the most serene, one of the most spiritual people that I've ever known. And when she was going to have Patty, I was like, aren't you in fear of what could happen? You're 51. She said, Carmen, she's like, all of my children are God's children. They're not even my children. You guys have your own path, And she lives that every day. And I've tried to take some of that on. I'm a work in progress. This is Patty, my mom, my sister, Rebecca, right after treatment. She was right in the middle of treatment. And this is her at the end of treatment. And this is her the day, just about 3 weeks after treatment ended. She's a beautiful, wonderful, amazing spirit. And we're truly blessed to have her. The Broad Highway can take you on an interesting journey. Don't be afraid of the journey of the spiritual path. This is us getting ready to go climb the bridge at Sydney Harbor. Because my job takes me some cool places, I got to go to Australia with nursing students, and I brought my daughter along. And this is us at the top of the bridge. And this was us at the South Sea, a beautiful area called the 12 Apostles. And they had a little rope-off area where you couldn't go down to the water because it was too dangerous. Not for me and Rebecca. I'm like, I gotta go down there. So we climbed over the ropes illegally. We went down, and I felt the wall, put my hand on the wall, and I said to her, feel this power. And we both just got full of tears. Just look at what we're seeing right now. Look at this beauty. And we just were just immersed in gratitude, immersed in spiritual thanks of this connection that we have with each other and with this beautiful planet. And it was like so overwhelming and so thankful that here I am, this little girl who never even thought I would go to college. And here I am on the other side of the world, with my kid, doing amazing things, feeling just overwhelmed with gratitude. And we were the only ones to put our feet in the South Sea. It was frigid cold, but how could you go down there and not put your feet in the water? So we did, and it was an amazing experience. the Australian winery with my students, which I'm so blessed to be able to give of service to them and be a role model for them as what it's like to be a caretaker or a nurse and powerful advocate for patients. Of course, I'm the only one not drinking, which is fine. And this is us in Chile, a different group of students in Chile this year, ziplining with my students. They're all, half my age, but they didn't have the chutzpah to go to the really high zip lines. That was me. I did that by myself. And it was a great experience. It was a lot of fun. Being in touch again with this beautiful planet. And again, to me, nature is spiritual. It's just where I find a lot of connection. Physically, I've done things I never thought I could do. I've run 2 full marathons and a half. When I ran my first full marathon in 2005 and then another one in 2006, I had never even run a 5K. But I'm a food addict now. I'm going to go all the way. I'm not going to start with 5K. No, I'm going to run a full marathon. And that's what I did because it's all or nothing. It's all or nothing. But I was very happy with my time. I felt like I did well. Never coached soccer, never played soccer. They needed coaches. Why not? Let's try it. They trained me, and my husband, funny, people think he was the coach. I'm the coach. He was my assistant, people. He was my assistant coach. I was the coach. And that was a lot of fun. I like to climb to the tops of things, if I can. Many times I have selfies because no one's gone up there with me to take the picture. So this is me on the top of a pyramid in Mexico City, and everyone else was out of breath. Shorter down. This is me running in Chicago. I have many pictures of me running by myself in different places. I bring the same orange shirt so that it looks silly. And this is me also at the top of a mountain that I hiked. And you never know what you're going to find at the top. What I know I'm going to find is serenity and peace. And if you go up there, you might find serenity and peace embodied in a Tibetan monk, which happened to be up there. And I just stood there. It was just him and I on the top, no one else. And I just was, again, wow. If you look for the spirit of the universe, it will be there, usually in other people, in nature, wherever you find it. To me, I have to have that connection. And sometimes I just think about that place. I think about Muir Woods. I think about being on the top of a mountain, and I feel that serenity. I feel that connection. Abstinence has brought me health, vitality, vigor, has taken away my fear of most everything, to be honest, and a connection with my spiritual connection that I never imagined. So much more than just a food plan, so much more than just the food I eat, but everything. It is everything to me. And you guys talked about earlier, your life hasn't changed. Well, I've gone through a husband. I changed professions. I got my doctorate. I traveled. I've done a lot of things differently, but I was blessed to have abstinence at 26. And I'm 49 now. So that's a blessing. I thank Fred S. and Ray Z for bringing How to South Florida, and I'm so honored, humbled, just grateful to be with you today. You have no idea. Thank you, Larita, for asking me. Yes, we do. There is a garden that comes my true. When you're not with us, we're blue. Oh, Carmen, we love you.
Okay, we have to move next door. So let's close this in the usual manner with the serenity prayer. Can we gather in a circle? Stop this.